I've traveled in Mexico several times and have numerous friends there, one of whom has preached for us a couple of times and whose voice is coming up at slide 59. My friends in Mexico have often been impressed by my appreciation of their national drinks, tequila and mezcal. So, yesterday's report on the ABC about the growth of producing those spirits here in Australia caught my attention. They can't call them tequila or mezcal here because those names are regionally specific. And while all mezcals are made from a spiky, succulent plant called agave, tequilas have to be made from a particular variety grown in a particular region. The report focused on a farm near Bowen in Queensland that is now home to 500,000 agave plants, which are the correct variety for tequila, but since Bowen is nowhere near Jalisco, any spirits produced there will never be called tequila. Apparently, agave spirits are one of the few alcoholic beverages presently experiencing a growth in consumption in Australia. But agave is a very versatile plant, and a lot of what is being produced in Bowen will probably end up going into the even faster growing aviation biofuel sector. And as much as I love agave spirits, that does not extend to drinking aviation fuel. Well, you won't find any agave or distilling in John's Gospel, but you will find a deep interest in the question of what spirit we are drinking and where the spirit comes from. And to defend myself against the accusation that that is an extremely silly wordplay, Luke reports that when the Spirit was poured out on the day of Pentecost, the impression created to many outsiders was that the followers of Jesus were all drunk. It's sometimes possible to get the impression from the book of Acts and the writings of Paul that the Holy Spirit is some kind of added bonus, the bestower of spectacular gifts that go way beyond the basic requirements for healthy living. But in John's Gospel, the Holy Spirit is depicted in less spectacular terms, but in ways that make it more obvious that we'd be lost without her. Perhaps the best known of John's images of the Spirit are the passages in chapters 14 to 16, where the Greek word paraclete is used. And incidentally, that's actually the only masculine word used for the Spirit in the whole Bible. So if you're wondering why we often refer to the Spirit as she, it is because apart from these few verses, the Spirit is she or it throughout the Bible, despite what most English translations do. The word paraclete has no exact English equivalent, but you will find it variously translated as defense counsel, which is probably the closest, advocate, comforter, or backer. The Spirit is being depicted as the one who will be there for us when the going gets tough. She will back us up, support us, encourage us, and even speak up for us or intervene on our behalf. Jesus speaks of the Spirit in these terms at a time when his followers are extremely anxious about their future and wondering whether they can survive. He assures them that they will be safer with the Spirit than they would be if he stuck around. The passage we heard from John tonight is another one in which the Spirit is no added extra, but an absolute essential, water to drink. If you have a thirst that won't go away, come to me and drink, says Jesus. I have rivers of life-giving water welling up from deep within. And John adds an explanatory note to tell us that he was referring to the Holy Spirit who would soon be given to those who put their trust in Jesus. The context in which Jesus made this statement made it especially powerful. We are told that it was on the big final day of the Jewish Feast of Tabernacles. Like all the Jewish religious festivals, this feast was about remembering what God had done for the people in the past and reliving the meaning of those events in the present. One of the main associations of this feast was remembering how God had sustained and provided for the people when they were homeless wanderers in the desert. And as anyone wandering in the desert will tell you, the number one essential for life there is water to drink. And one of the stories retold during the festival was the story that we heard just a couple of months back during Lent of the day when the people were almost dying of thirst and God provided water which gushed from a rock when Moses whacked the rock with his stick. Every day during the feast, there would be a procession from the temple to the pool of Siloam. The priests would fill a pitcher with water from the pool, and then the procession would return to the temple singing joyously. The priest would process around the altar carrying the water and then pour it out as an offering to God. And songs like the one from Isaiah 12 would be sung, speaking of drawing water with joy from the well of God's salvation. So when Jesus announces at the climax of the festival that he is the one from whom rivers of life-giving water flow to quench the thirst of the faithful, he's identifying himself with the rock through which God saves and gives life to the people. That might not sound earth-shattering to us, but in that context, it was a bombshell and it ignited a storm of controversy. I think, though, if we really think about it in the context of our own society, it is still a radical and confronting claim. Perhaps the association with thirst is our way into it. Because if you're thirsty enough, you'll drink anything. And I think Jesus is challenging us to think about what spirit we are going to drink and where it comes from. Not because it affects what you can call it, like agave spirits, but because it affects whether it is life-giving or potentially deadly. The image of thirsty people searching for a drink in a barren place is a powerful picture of the desperation that comes when we feel lost and parched, and every promise of trustworthy life-giving water turns out to be a mirage. You don't have to look far to begin seeing that thirst being exploited by those willing to cash in on it. Everyone with a message, a service, or a product to sell will tell you that if you take what they are offering, you will find it satisfying deep needs within you. Some will invite you to drink deeply from the well of financial security. Invest in high-yielding stocks and set yourself up for life, and your deepest thirsts will be satisfied, they promise. But the well is poisoned. Many have drunk deeply of the spirit that flows there and come away crippled by anxiety and greed and with their relationships reduced to marketing opportunities. Some will invite you to drink deeply from the well of social success. Get the right job, be seen in the right places, wearing the right clothes and driving the right car. Be beautiful and noticed. Climb the social ladder. Get all those likes on your social media, and your deepest thirsts will be satisfied. But the promise is false. The well is polluted. Many have drunk deeply of the spirit that flows there and come away poisoned by superficiality and competitiveness and by the fear that it can never last. Some will invite you to drink deeply from the well of nationalism. Protect the borders, hoard all our resources for our own enjoyment, insulate ourselves from the needs of others lest it cost us. Glory in the privileges of being Australian, and your deepest thirsts will be satisfied, they promise. But that well is putrid. Many are drinking deeply of the spirit that flows there and being poisoned by it. Everything they once enjoyed becomes something to be jealously protected, and everyone with a need becomes a threat to our rights and our lifestyle. The borders keep closing in and in until we have isolated ourselves from everyone and we are shriveled and loveless. But the nasty hangovers from past experiences of drinking from those poisoned wells need not deter us from seeking the true life-giving spirit. Funnily enough, even the report about the agave spirits said that. The owner of a specialist agave spirits bar in Adelaide was quoted as saying, I feel like a lot of people have had that horrible experience with a shot of tequila or a whole bottle of tequila at a house party and they don't ever want to touch it again. I find it good that we can show people that they can sip it like whiskey and it's complex, it's cool. Come to me, all who are thirsty, and drink deep, says Jesus. And here, where we gather to drink deeply of the Spirit that flows from Jesus, we find a Spirit that flows from self-sacrificing love. Here, as we see bread broken and wine poured, as we are reminded of the one who hung on a cross and from whose pierced side water and blood flowed, we know that we are being offered a very different kind of spirit. Here we drink of a spirit that is poured out for the common good, a spirit that binds us together as one body, so that we may in turn be broken and poured out for the life and the well-being of all. Here we drink of a spirit that flows like life-giving water, so that we might in turn be springs of life-giving water. For it is only in this spirit of self-sacrificing love that flows from the Christ that our deepest thirst is satisfied. Come, Holy Spirit, come.